Welcome to ASMR Insurance. My name is Jemima. How can I help you today? I'd like to take out a home insurance policy. Okay. Can I start with your name, please? Could you spell that for me, sorry? Okay. And surname? Okay. And are you, what's your title? Like, are you Mr. Doctor, Professor? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, just bear with me. Okay. And is this for a new home, or like, is your home currently insured, or is this for a new home that you're purchasing? Oh, congratulations. Okay, so just before we get started, I just need to do a quick legal statement. So, by proceeding, you confirm that you must take reasonable care not to make a misrepresentation. This means giving us true, complete and accurate answers to our questions, including where you provide information on someone else's behalf. We will use your answers to decide whether to insure you and on what terms. If any of your answers are misleading, incomplete, inaccurate or fraudulent, we may reduce or not pay a claim, cancel your policy or treat it as if it never existed. If you don't understand a question or you're unsure how to answer, or if anything is unclear, please ask. Okay, you agree? Right, perfect. So first I'm going to need the address of the property. And are you going to be an owner-occupier? Are you renting it out? Or a combination of both? Okay. And what type of property is it? Is it a house, apartment, unit, townhouse, duplex? Okay. Perfect. Sorry, the system's just being a little slow. So what sort of cover are you taking out? Are you taking out just home insurance, or are you taking out contents as well? Okay, so by taking out both, you do get a 10% discount on the combined policy. So what this cover will include, it will include cover for weather events and water damage, a lifetime guarantee on home repairs managed by us, rebuild anywhere within the country after a total loss, legal liability up to $30 million, new for old replacement and contents, and then theft, vandalism and fire damage. So that's what the cover includes, but it's not limited to those inclusions. Okay, so the system's done a look on that property, but I'm just going to go through the details that it's pre-populated, as oftentimes if there's been, for example, renovations to the home at all, this information will be out of date. So what year was it constructed? Yeah, just roughly, it's by bracket, so it's put it down as 1976 to 1983. Does that sound correct? Yeah, okay, perfect. How many stories tall is it? Okay. What is the exterior wall made of? Okay. Okay, so that could be a couple things. There's a couple of different things. There's timber or other wooden weatherboard. There's artificial weatherboard, so hardy plank. But then you can also have cladded hardy plank. So pick the most commonly used. So if it's that type of house where the bottom half's been done after the fact and it's not, like, wasn't originally built to be lived in, it's probably not the cladded type. We had a building inspection done, because it should say. Okay, it just says, yeah, okay. That's not a problem. Do double check. I'll put down the harder plank for now, but do double check once the policy is up and running, and if it is wrong then we need to amend that, but ultimately the difference between hard blank and cladded hard blank isn't significant enough that we would deny a claim based on that alone. And the roof material, metal, do you know what sort of metal? Yeah, I can give you a minute to look that up. Oh my god. Yeah, no, seriously though. I swear they're all the same. They're all like, it's like they haven't even bothered to look online at what they... Perfect, thank you so much for that. Okay. Quality roof there. And the slope of the block, what's that like? Pretty flat? Okay, good. Okay, so how many people will be living at the property? How many bedrooms and studies are in the property? So that includes, like for example, where the roof height isn't 2.4 meters, so it can't legally be called a bedroom, but it is for all intents and purposes a bedroom. So if it is a room that is like a bedroom or study or other sort of living area, but not a study nook or other very, very small area that is not a proper room. Yeah, so that also doesn't include cubby houses, granny flats, any sort of outhouse, anything like that. Okay. Bathrooms and en-suites, but not including separate toilets. Yep. Living rooms. Yep. Verandas or decks, that includes porches and balconies. Okay. Carports or garages. Now this doesn't include just regular parking spaces that aren't enclosed, and it also doesn't include like standalone sheds. Okay. Okay, so the property has a pool. Okay. Does it have ducted heating or cooling? Does it have a shed? Does that have a granny flat? And what about a tennis court? Okay. Alright, well we're already halfway done, in fact more than that now, so that's really good. So we establish hardy plank for the exterior walls. Okay, now the sum insured for the building itself. So the minimum amount that you can insure it for is $647,985. The most you can insure it for is $1,209,573. Yeah, so how it works is basically this is the cost that it would be to rebuild the home from scratch. So that includes demolition, clean-up, professional services fees, and then of course to actually construct a new property. That includes also council fees, so planning permits, things like that, and GST. So often the cost to rebuild a home, depending on the area, it could be less, but oftentimes it is more. Especially with houses that were constructed a few decades ago, often they will have been renovated over time, and so the cost of the property might have sort of depreciated over time, but there's been work done to it where you're not really paying the full cost as it's changed hands of those benefits. So for example, you said it's got air conditioning. That's something that might not have been there when the property was originally built, and it's something that would cost a fair bit to add on to the property, but it's something that you're probably not paying a significant amount for, especially in that area. I would imagine that most properties have air conditioning, so you're probably not, the purchase price is probably not going to be affected by that as much as if you're constructing it. So that's why it's not so much. So let me tell you as well about our safeguard benefit. So the safeguard benefit, what that is basically if there is a total loss, so if the home is completely destroyed, we will pay up to 30% more than the amount actually insured to protect you from basically being underinsured. So that's meant to protect you from, you know, if the cost to rebuild does increase, above what is estimated, then it will cover you for more. So the minimum amount required for the safeguard benefits kick in is 777,582. So our computer is telling us that based on what it is made of, the size, things like that, it's recommending 864,000. So to be honest, while the minimum that it can be insured for is 647,985, I would recommend at least going to the amount that the safeguard benefit kicks in. It will just protect you in the event that you're obviously, fingers crossed, touch wood, that nothing does happen that will result in the building being completely destroyed. But of course, something like a pool, for example, if that has to be filled in and redug, if the shell has to be taken out and destroyed, fencing as well, for example, things like that, the shed. And then of course it also covers you for things like if your home, if the pieces of your home were to then go and damage a neighbouring property, for example, that is also included in that coverage. Yep, so on the next page I'll be able to tell you what your premium is. We can play around with that if you're not happy with the premium, and I can send you a copy of different quotes if you'd like me to do a separate quote for, say, both the minimum amount and the amount that the safeguard needs, and then what the computer is recommending you insure it for. Yep, we can absolutely start with that. Okay, so I'm also going to need to know, is there a mortgage on the property? Yep, and who's the bank? Yep. And just to clarify, yeah, you said the purchase price was, yeah, okay. And just to make sure that the amount that it's insured for is more than the amount that is on the mortgage. So basically the bank will go down on the certificate of currency. That's the certificate that we issue, basically recognising the insurance, and it will have down the bank as an interested party. That way they get obviously a portion of the money needed to discharge the mortgage. Okay. So in terms of your contents, just to run through a couple of basic things. So in terms of being covered under contents, that includes white goods, so for example air conditioning units that aren't part of a ducted system, so that would include split system air conditioning. It also includes things like dishwashers, and then it also includes the carpets. So carpets, dishwashers and other white goods are included as part of the building insurance, so do take them into account when you're doing contents insurance. So do you know roughly how much you need to replace? So it's new for old, so if you had an old item, then how much would that cost to buy new? Yeah, we can go through and estimate that for you. So it's right off the bat estimating $73,000 of contents, so that's breaking it down. The majority is by furniture. We can change that, but yeah, for that many bedrooms, it depends on the quality of things that you have, to be honest. It depends on, again, how old things are. So as I said, it's new for old. I would definitely recommend over-insuring rather than under-insuring. What you can do, and I would highly recommend you do this, so speaking from personal experience, if you did need to do a claim, especially in the event of total loss, there's two ways that we can do it. One is just a pure estimation. That is more likely to lead to you being underinsured. So what we normally recommend that you do is you actually go through and you make an itemised list of all your contents. And I do mean quite literally all your contents, so that includes things like stationery, obviously the obvious things like appliances, electronics and furniture, but also taking note of clothes, again, new for old, bathroom things are often missed, kitchenware, so fry pans, even cutlery, things like that. Food as well, we do insure, so for example if your fridge is full of $200 worth of food and the power goes out and you lose that, that's something that we do cover, so include all of those things. And once you have an itemised list, we can go back in and change this if it does turn out to be more. Normally I would say the system does, it's usually correct within about 10%, so I would recommend going with what it says. I wouldn't recommend lowering it below that. Again, I can send you this quote and then we can change it if we need to. Okay, so I'm just going to run you through specified contents. So these are specific items that do have their own individual limits. So jewellery and watches, you are limited to $2,500 per item, so per piece of jewellery or per watch. Artworks, rugs and antiques are limited to $20,000 per item, and collections and memorabilia are limited to $5,000 per collection. So you do need to increase the cover for any of these. Okay. And you want to add cover for portable contents. So what this is basically, say for example you have a laptop, handbag, phone, something like that. You can choose to increase your cover so that those items are covered when they're not at your property. So that includes when you travel overseas for up to 90 days. Yep. So it does include theft. It includes regular damage and things like that. It also includes accidental damage, which is not something that is covered by default with the rest. So say for example you just simply dropped your phone and it broke, that would be covered then. Or say for example you were extremely clumsy and you threw your laptop out the window into the pool, that sort of thing. Yep, I mean it's up to you. You know, if you don't really take things apart from your phone outside of the house, it might not be worth it, but if you do work outside of the home a lot with your own personal laptop, phone, you know, things like jewellery, expensive handbags, things like that as well. You can leave that for now, that's no problem. So do you have some sort of a security alarm, like a burglar alarm in the house? And is that monitored by a security company, or is that just a regular one that just beeps really loudly when it's activated? Okay. Okay, so are you the eldest person living at the property? Okay, so I'll need your date of birth and also their date of birth as well. Yep. Okay. So in the last 3 years, has anyone in the household or who will be insured made any claims for buildings or contents insurance? Now, do you want to provide your email address so that this quote can be sent to you? Yep, so we'll only send you updates about this quote. You won't be sold off to any newsletters or anything like that. Okay. Sorry, the system's just taking a little while. The last thing that I'm going to take you through is just a couple of questions so that we can play around with that premium. So do you want to be covered for accidental damage? So as I was saying before, that's not included by default for the building or contents. So for a building, that could be you're moving furniture and you put a hole in the wall. It could be you spill a glass of wine on the carpet. Is that something that you want to be covered by? It won't change your premium too much. Per year it will change it by roughly, so it's just calculating. Yeah, so that will only change your premium by just over $100 a year, so yeah, that's really not too much. Generally I would recommend it. you know, it's the sort of thing where, on the one hand, of course, depending on what excess you choose, it might not be worth it. But at the same time, like say for example, you literally did, you said it was a 2-story home. So, you know, if something went through one floor, like it went through the floor and also then damaged the floor below, that could require quite a bit of work. So it's generally something I would recommend. Yeah. Yeah, I can play around with this and just let you know. So then the next thing will be your excesses. So the excess is the amount that you pay when you claim. So say for example, you know, again, touch wood, the house does burn down, or anything that happens, anytime you make a claim, you'll need to pay an amount called the excess. And so what that is, you know, basically it's to stop you from really making a claim when it's a small amount of work that's probably best handled directly by you. But you can really change the excess. So the lower your excess, the higher your premium, so the higher the amount that you'll pay per year or per month. For building, that ranges from as low as $100 or as much as $5,000. And for contents, it's actually the same thing, $100 through to $5,000. Generally speaking, again depending on what sort of furniture you've got, generally we would recommend a lower excess for contents than building, simply because the amount of damage that you're most likely going to claim is lower for contents than for building. So it's defaulted to $500 excesses for both. And with the $500 excess for both, and with accidental damage, per year you're looking at $2,224. That is inclusive of GST, or you can pay per month as well. It is slightly more expensive to pay per month, but per month your premium, again inclusive of GST, would be $205.95. Yep, so you can pay by BPay, and what you can do, if you do it per year, what you can actually do, which is a little bit sneaky, instead of, like, you can obviously pay that amount up front and you'll be covered for the whole year. But if you want to do something like a little bit of a middle ground, what you can do is with PayPal or BPay. So PayPal's got that new thing that's like PayPal Pay by 4, and it's basically like Afterpay. So if you do it, you can use PayPal to pay for it in 4 installments. And similarly with BPay, if you've got Zip can do BPay now as well. So that way it ends up only being, you know, obviously however much you pay back on your Zip, which is typically $40 a fortnight, I think. Yep, so we can play around. So say for example, as I said, so that's $2,224 per year. If you were, for example, to take the building excess from $500 to $1,000, that would change from $2,224 per year to, sorry, the system's being very slow today. That would go to $2,060. So that takes it down by about $164. So if we were, for example, to just completely max out those excesses, so that's $5,000. And that is also per excess, just bear that in mind. So again, if there was a total loss, you would pay both those excesses to cover both the building and the contents. It's not $500 for both, it is $500 each. But if we were to do $5,000 on building, that would take it to $1,800. And if we were to also do $5,000 on contents, that would take it to $1,752. Yeah, look, for contents, honestly, I would recommend, as I said, doing a bit of a lower excess, so picking that 250, 500, 750, something of that nature, because you want to be able to use it ideally. Yeah, we don't have a no claim bonus. So in that sense, so we do obviously monitor claims, so where people are having, lots of claims, like multiple claims in a year or something like that, or if they claim very, very shortly after the policy kicks in, then we will do an investigation. That's to make sure of a couple of things. One is obviously to make sure that it's not fraud. The other thing is to make sure that there's not something in particular about that property that has been missed that makes it particularly risky. And so that's why we ask for the details as well about, for example, who lives in the property, so how many people, whether it's owner-occupier, whether you're renting it out, things like that, and that's to assess the risk that something would happen. So what I would recommend is sticking with, as I said, that $250, $500 or $750 for contents. Contents insurance, generally speaking, it doesn't change the premium all that much. Okay, so if we keep that at the 500, we're keeping the accidental damage for both. And then the building insurance at 5,000. So remember, we're doing this on the assumption that the insured amount is 777,854, and that's the amount that you need for safeguard to kick in. So that would be $1,806 per year. So I can email that quote to you. You can think about it. We'll also generate 2 other quotes based on the recommended amount and also the lowest insured amount. Generally that will alter the premium in my experience, obviously without having the calculations in front of me. You could probably expect that to be about $300 a year cheaper and more expensive based on those amounts, but that does depend. So just to go through what that does cover, so temporary accommodation, so that's up to 24 months. So if your home is uninhabitable, we will cover a limited amount of accommodation. Obviously, unfortunately, we wish that we could put everyone up in 5-star hotels when something like that happens to them, but we will cover basically what's called reasonable accommodation. So usually what that will mean is something like a short or medium term rental while the property gets rebuilt, depending on how long that takes. Obviously in the immediate that would require hotel accommodation or something like that, but as time goes on, more like a short term rental. A security upgrade, so up to $500 towards additional security measures if there is a burglary. As I said, $30 million legal liability, a lifetime guarantee on building repairs managed by us. And then a list of the insured events. Again, this is not exhaustive. Storm, rain, flood and lightning, fire and explosion, burnout of electric motors. So that means, like appliances or electrics in the house, for example. Theft and burglary, water damage, collision of fallen tree or branch, accidental breakage of glass, vandalism, a malicious act or riot, damage by animals, or earthquake or tsunami. So we do have, and this will be included in your email quote, the position description statement. And what that basically goes through is it goes through everything that's included and excluded. So generally, yes, that will be covered. So if you do have a friend over and they spill a glass of wine on the carpet, that is something that will be covered because you are covered for accidental damage. So that's not going to apply if you're using the property for any business purposes. So you said that this was solely as a residential building. If you were running a home business, so that doesn't mean working from home. That means if you're operating a business, so say for example you were operating a hair studio or a massage parlour out of your property, that wouldn't be covered. Alright, perfect. So there's a couple more questions that I'll get ready, so that way when you get emailed the quote, you can basically press a button to accept the quote. The quote will be valid for 1 month, so that will take us through to the 28th of December. Obviously you want the policy to start before then, but it will be valid. You do have time to think about it. And I'm just going to go through a couple more questions so that if you do accept it, all the work's been done for you. So is the home occupied? Okay. And when will you be moving in? Yep, okay, that's very, very soon. Yep. And now, of course, we assume that this isn't the case, but Is the home or property undergoing construction currently or significant renovations? No. Is it structurally sound? Yes. Okay. Is the block size more than 5 acres or 2 hectares? Acres, sorry. Okay. No, you don't operate a business out there. And you've gone through the mortgage already. Yep. Just 3 more questions. In the last 5 years, have you or any other policyholders had insurance cancelled or refused? Yep. Have you or any other policyholders had an insurance claim denied for fraud or dishonesty? And have you or any other policyholders been convicted of any criminal offence relating to any of the following: supplying drugs, fraud, theft or burglary, arson, or willful or malicious damage? Okay. Alright, so that's all the questions that I had for you. So we can post the documents to you as well if you'd like, but obviously that quote will be emailed to you through the email address that you've provided. Is it okay if I grab a phone number? Absolutely, you don't have to provide that just yet. Right, I will send those through. You'll get one immediately, and then I'll go back and order the 2 quotes for the different amounts. And then whichever one you are happy with, feel free to proceed. And if you have any other questions, then feel free to give us another call back. Alright. Congratulations again, and take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.